Yes.
Pyrex and microwave
I'm
in the
out
wrist.
here,
You
you
probably
heard?
think I'm baking cake when I'm working the whip. You probably think it's Pyrex.
Whole lot of shots followed after I bust your snot box with this a rock bottle. Shoot the fair one, mono a mono the clown.
See your basketball analyst top 4 point guards. This is right now the premier position in the NBA, and most of that is due to the fact that the rule changes nowadays with the fact that you can't hand check the way flagrant fouls are now called. You can't contain all of these lightning quick ball handling point guards. You can't contain them. And the fact of the matter is, so much of the population is point guard size. You just have more people vying for these positions, so you have more people that can play. You know, there aren't a whole lot of guys that are 6'9" and mobile enough to play in the NBA. So the when you say that, you know that the field of guys that can actually play is just going to be very small. There's a lot of 6'2" guys walking around that can play basketball, though. So you always are going to have more people that can play at these positions. But again, because of the way the rules are, these guys can just run the team. And then the fact that the coaching is so poor and lackluster, a lot of the control is being put in their hands. Like, Scott Brooks was fired because of this. The guy just sat there for years not running anything. And because of that, a guy like Russell Westbrook has the ball already. So not only does he have the skill and ability to control the game, he has the opportunity to completely monopolize the ball because team's not running anything. So because of this is now, because of these factors and many others, this is now the premier position in the NBA. So with that said, we're going to start with some guys that missed the cut. And a couple of these guys, and one of these guys actually fell out of my top 4 from last season from the year before last to last season. One of those guys being Rajon Rondo. We all know the disaster that occurred in Dallas. He did not play up to his potential. He did not play up to. I mean, this guy is a Hall of Fame caliber player. We've seen the kind of performances that he's put up. We've seen him guard multiple positions. We've seen him, and we've seen the brilliance of this man. And Rondo is one of those rare, athletes that's not just brilliant at his sport. He's just a brilliant thinker. Period. He's extremely intelligent. And go read up on Rajon Rondo if you don't know about that. He's a math whiz and all kinds of stuff. But he didn't bring that to bear last season. So Rondo, has fallen out of my top 4. Kyrie Irving, high-profile guy, falling out of the top 4. Some of it due to injury, some of it due to the fact that he just doesn't defend. And what's irritating about when you see a guy like him not defending, he can do better because the limited time we saw him in the playoffs this year, his first playoff appearance, he was actually making an effort to defend and guard his position. Defense is very important at the point guard position. It's one of, to me, it's key because of not only how important point guards are in terms of today's game, but at any point in NBA history and at any level. The point guard is the person that sets the table for everyone else. This is who initiates plays. If you get the point guard out of sorts, you can mess up the entire team. So having a player at this position playing tough D is vital. It can change an entire series around. It can change the fortunes of an entire team. Patrick Beverley is in the league purely because of this. This is the only reason he's in the league. If it hadn't been for that, Jeremy Lin would still be starting point guard in Houston. But he was put in place as a starter strictly on his defense. Another guy who's very similar to Kyrie Irving in terms of his skill set and the way that he brings that to bear during games is Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is another, scoring point guard, shoot first guy that just doesn't guard his position. And when you're talking about the elite of the elite at, to me, the premier position in the NBA these days, you have to guard your position. And Damian Lillard just lets people walk over him defensively. He just abdicates it entirely. And, Damian Lillard is a supreme athlete. And there's no reason. A lot of times I'm watching him, it reminds me of Derrick Rose, where I say, how can somebody with this kind of quickness and this kind of leaping ability be such a poor defender? And he just doesn't. And most of that is due to the fact that teams do not pay to play defense. For every Patrick Beverly we can name that is, just allowed to be in the league and just has a very low level contract, I can name 15 players that are making more money than him just by playing a little offense. It just doesn't pay to play defense in the NBA, and that's why you see so many people not doing it. It's pretty simple. And in fact, in some play cases, like a guy like James Johnson, who else kind of Reggie Evans, some guys like that. I think the fact that they play defense has actually hurt their career. Like it a lot of times it's like, man, this dude's not playing at all now, and it makes you wonder: are they just benching him because he defends? It's really weird, but it almost seems like that sometimes. The final player I'll talk about that did not make my top four, and then it would be pretty easy to narrow it down who did after that. Mike Conley Jr. Mike Conley Jr. is one of the most consistent players at his position. You'll hear it on TV every now and then. Like Barkley says this all the time. He goes, Mike Conley Jr. is one of the most underrated players in the league, or the most underrated. Which I always hate when somebody that's on television in a widely watched show says things like that, because it's a passive statement about something that you're directly responsible for. Like, you and your colleagues are not talking about this individual. You and your colleagues are not talking about the individual. It's not that the individual is underrated or is being removed from the conversation by some other group of people. You're the one that removed him. If you think that the guy is underrated, talk about him more. Mike Conley Jr., consistent, a guy that can score. He can score and set the table. So he always has that threat of being a very good passer and being able to score. And he just is excellent at controlling pace. One of the reasons the Memphis Grizzlies are allowed to play the style that they have played throughout his tenure as starting point guard and have been successful, he's in a tremendous piece there, because he always knows when to accelerate, when to take his foot off the gas. He knows when to get Zebo back involved, when to get it to Marc Gasol. He's excellent at setting the table. And then on top of that, he's a lockdown defender. He's always an all defensive caliber defender at his position. He's difficult to post. He's difficult to bring the ball up against. He's difficult to pass against. He's one of these guys that when you go to make a pass, he can reach out and tip it. He's excellent at breaking up the other team's momentum at the point guard position. So Mike Conley Jr. was a guy that I wanted to also talk about. Now, to get into the top four. At number four, we have a guy that, to me, has just come a long way. And I'm really impressed with him and really happy that he's been able to do this, because he came out of college with so much fanfare, and a lot due to his own immaturity as a player. I don't mean immaturity like off the court. This guy doesn't give you any off the court problems. But I mean immaturity as a player in terms of his pace and his shot selection, and also due to the franchise he went to. Washington Wizards, they've just been a really, really messed up franchise for decades at this point. John Wall. John Wall has come a long way. And John Wall, man, he's really, really tough to deal with at this point. He's the lead dog for the Washington Wizards. And you know what? He was worth every bit of it. He's worth every bit of it, because John Wall is one of the most athletic guys in the league. He now is starting to play smart on both ends of the floor. He takes defense personally. And what's really great about him is he's now using that lead guard scoring mentality to set the table for other people. This dude was number 2 in the league in assists this year. He's one of the only double-figure assist players in the league, because they don't pay people to pass the ball, which we'll get into later. They don't pay people for that. They don't give you awards for that. But I'll tell you like this: the only reason the Washington Wizards are even a threat to go to the playoffs is because John Wall is an elite, great player. John Wall's a future Hall of Famer. I love the progression that he's made. John Wall's the type of guy, and he'll be in the middle of a drive. He'll give you a little bit of a slowdown, and then or hesitation, and then he'll explode to the basket. He can finish with a dunk with either hand. This dude's athletic ability is weird because usually most players have one take off leg. John Wall can take off and dunk the ball off either leg, right or left. Watch when you're watching games, watch how many people do that. I literally can't think of another guy that does that in the NBA. John Wall is an ambidextrous leaper. Obviously finish with dunk with either hand, can finish with either hand at the basket. His pull-up game is tremendous. He's one of those mid-range pull-up guys. He's now extended his shooting out to the three-point line. And in terms of driving kick, I think he's the best driving kick player in the league. So what I mean by that is John Wall doesn't get he's not great at getting a lot of assists with timing within the offense in terms of like that's how Mike Conley gets his. Like Mike Conley will get a lot of his assists where Marc Gasol will come down out of the high post, set a screen on the opposite block for Zach Randolph, and Zach Randolph will curl off that screen and like seal right in front of the rim, and Mike Conley will dump it right at the right time and get it to Zach, and Zach puts shoulder in the guy, left hand finish. That's not how John Wall gets his assists. John Wall usually is getting his assists off breaking down the offense and then drawing and then kicking and do second in the league in assists that way. John Wall still on the upswing, only getting better. I expect John Wall to at least move up one spot this upcoming season. Number 3. This was where I had to do a lot of thinking and I was really not sure about it, but I settled on Steph Curry at number 2. Steph Curry, we know the strengths of Steph Curry. He's arguably the best shooter in basketball. He's going to go down in history. He's deadly on the spot up. He's the deadliest pull up jump shooter in the league. You don't see the highlights. Steph Curry can put the ball between his legs, go behind his back, pull up, stop on a dime, shoot 3 right in your face. Doesn't matter how big you are, doesn't matter how quick you are. Steph Curry, we saw the statistics from that short corner. He was shooting 90% from the arc in the playoffs. He's a guy that when he gets to certain spots on the floor, he hits all of them. He's got like hot spots on the floor like a video game. Steph Curry also is very, very adept, especially for a guy who's not really a leaper. He's very, very adept at finishing because he is great at playing the board, as Hubie Brown would say, and putting English on the ball and spinning it. We all remember the play where he lofted the ball off the corner of the backboard to get it over outstretched arm of Dwight Howard. And Dwight Howard kind of just looked at it and shrugged his shoulders and that's what you're supposed to do. If you go to challenge and the man can loft the ball up the top of the backboard and finish it, you know what? Good shot, man. Cool. Steph Curry is that kind of player. Where he loses a little ground and especially to the people ahead of him, is defensively, he's very limited. He can be had defensively, partially because of his lack of strength, but in general, he's just not as athletic as a lot of other players in his position. He's not insanely quick. When he leaves people, he's leaving people off deception. It's not that he's slow, but he's not exceptionally quick, and he does lack strength. And that is a struggle for him. One of the other downsides to his lack of strength is that's why he's easy to trap. He gets trapped all the time and loses the ball and turns it over. And it's because he doesn't have the strength to fight off a trap and step through and make plays. He often turns the ball over because of that. Bigger players can surround him and he can't push them off. He's very easy to post. I mean, he's borderline helpless on the block in terms of post-ups. So he has a lot of problems defensively. And then we saw also, he can be kind of taken out of the game at times. We saw this during the playoffs. He had games where he was just taken out of the game, and not really by anything that should have taken out a superstar player. And that's really what drops him below the top 2 guys. Mr. Fashion, Furious Styles, as Jalen Rose would call him, Russell Westbrook, number two. If Russell Westbrook had any kind of pace to his game or put any thought into what he was doing, he'd be the best point guard in the league. The thing that keeps him from being that best point guard and being, instead of being top five, being top two in the league overall, the thing that keeps him out is the fact that he just doesn't really play with any kind of intelligence. And it's not that he just does stuff. So you'll see he'll come down 3 times in a row and just shoot pull up 18-footer without trying to get a better shot for his team. When your point guard is doing stuff like that, he's giving you empty possessions, and he does things like that all the time. What you admire about him is that he has the energy to pull off the things that he pulls off. Look at what he's doing, and you say, man, that dude will go out and take 40 field goal attempts and play and then give you the same energy on the defensive end and get all the rebounds. You see the dude playing and you look at what he's doing and you say, man, can he keep up this pace? But you see he's been doing it for years, and his ability to play through injuries. We all saw the dude had the broken face and he dent in his face, and he just gets up. He laid there for a second, he gets up, and then he just finishes the game like that. He does things that are almost supernatural. We know his ability to explode and finish in traffic. We know his ability. He's got one of the best pull-up jump shots in the league. The dude is defensively very similar to his offense. There doesn't seem to be a lot of thought to what he's doing, and he doesn't really seem to try to set people up defensively. He just tries to swarm you sometimes and take it, or he's digging down in the post and just like tries to beat the ball off the big man. The dude is his tenacity is incredible, and as long as he can keep it up, you keep your eyes glued to Russell Westbrook. And I'll say one more thing about him, in his fashion that he's doing all the time, and he's always got these funny outfits and everything. Except that game where he was mad at Steph Curry, he came to the arena with the ski mask. If you look it up on the internet, man, if you haven't seen that, because man, it looked like, oh man, he's out for blood tonight, man. He's either out for blood or he's gonna rob a bank, man. This dude looks crazy right now. But I think that like he does. Sometimes I think stuff he's doing with these clothes is try to lull people into a false sense of security. Like he shows up to the game and he's dressed like a schoolboy from the '90s, and then he gets on the court and then he's a straight up maniac. And while you like laughing at his clothes, then he's like flying to the basket, stepping on his shoulder and dunking. Like that's what I think about Russell Westbrook. And then finally, the best player at his position, hands down, and has been for a long time. His work with the NBA PA and all of that. Chris Paul. Chris Paul gives you everything that a superstar player can give you. He's a lockdown defender. He's one of the few point guards in the league at this point that guards multiple positions. The way that Patrick Beverley will slide off from point guards and guard other players on the court because of his defensive prowess, Chris Paul will do that from time to time and slide over to the 2 or the 3 to defend. Same with Rajon Rondo. Chris Paul, obviously we know he leads the league in assists. He can get you, 18 to 20 points a night. And, Chris Paul, the leadership and the skill set that he has is just such a great player, and to consistently be able to do it time and time again. Every now and then I'll hear somebody and they'll be like, "We're here. He turned the ball over at the end of the game." Yeah, everybody turns the ball over. When LeBron was doing his, unprecedented routine where he was doing like kind of the Wilt Chamberlain plan, where I'm going to score all the points and get all the assists, what he was doing during the playoffs this past season. He turned the ball over a lot. When you have the ball, you turn the ball over. You're going to do that. When you have that kind of responsibility he has to score and assist, you're going to get a lot of turnovers. That's just the way it is. But Chris Paul has been doing it for a long time. He continues to do it, and I expect he will be the number 1 point guard yet again this upcoming season. To give a little historical context, this is the lead dog right now in Chris Paul. Always keep in mind, Isaiah Lord Thomas, Zeke, 20 and 10 over his career. This is back in the clothesline handshake era. So this is what I'm talking about where you see all these point guards and you see the importance of the position today. And you see how all these point guards are stars and it's like the featured position now. And remember, back when you could still do all that stuff and you could still beat players up, and a guy like Isaiah Thomas would be catching forearms and elbows, 6'8" guys all over the court all game long. Back in the 90s, in the late 80s, 90s, when you could do that back then, he averaged 20 points and 10 assists career. And that's why he has 2 rings, because really he's the best player ever in his position. So that's just a little historical context for what you're looking at today. So to recap, at number 1, Chris Paul. At number 2, Russell Westbrook. Number 3, Stephen Curry. And number 4, again, a guy I'm really proud of, John Wall. So looking forward to the upcoming season. Those are your top 4 point guards. See you basketball.
Oh yes, Sean Carter is nice, but Sean Price is the best. Sean gone, no Sean Dawn. Sean is a dawn I don't